If you play pickleball, you probably know that it's the fastest growing sport in the country, and new players are popping up pretty much every day. Today, I'm gonna give you 10 tips that'll keep you ahead of the curve and dominating the court. Let's get into it. The first tip is in regards to your ready position. So if you don't already know, your ready position is how you wait for the ball. This usually involves your paddle being out in front of your body and your legs being wide like this. But what a lot of players don't know is that your ready position should be different depending where you are on the court. More specifically, when you're at the kitchen line, you want to have a nice high ready position like this. Because if your opponent hits hard, it's not going to be able to go at your feet, right? Because you're so close to the net. So you want to have your paddle up, ready to defend a ball that's going to come near your body. But as you start to back up, you actually want to lower your ready position down. Because think about it, when you're back here, your opponent's probably up and their sole job is to try to hit the ball at your feet. So by having your paddle down, you're more ready for that shot. And if they were to go higher, the ball's probably going to go out. So there's not really much of a reason to be waiting with your ready position up here. Let's see how that looks in real time. So I'm in the transition zone, and because of that, I have my ready position nice and low, and I get the ball hit right at my feet, which makes it easier for me to reset it. If I was up here and that same thing happened, I'd have to move down, which just makes things a lot more difficult. So next time you're in the transition zone, try lowering your ready position and see if that gives you good results. Tip number 2 is in regards to your volleys. So if you've been watching YouTube videos about pickleball for a while, you've probably heard from a ton of different people that you want to stay loose with your arm and loose with your wrist. But there are certain exceptions to that. One being, if your opponent hits a hard ball at you and you're trying to counter that with a hard volley, you actually want to make sure that you stiffen up your grip so that the ball doesn't wobble your paddle, okay? When the ball comes hard at you and you want to hit hard, a lot of your power is going to come from using their power, so you need to have a firm wrist, all right? So I'll show you how that looks. You're just going to hit nice hard volleys at me, and I'm going to reflex them with my firm wrist. If he was to give me a slower volley though, that's where I'd use my loose wrist and go for a flick roll. But if he was to go hard, that's where I want to have that nice firm wrist so I can use his power against him. And guys, pickleball is way more fun when you have fresh tips that you can implement into your game. So make sure to subscribe and you'll see all of our new videos. Moving on though, our next tip is when you should slice in your dinks and drops and when you should hit topspin on your dinks and drops. So to clarify, a slice dink is where I cut under the ball and the ball spins back towards me. And a topspin dink, which I'll show you, is where I do the opposite and I roll over the ball. All right? I would say most players think that the topspin dink is more difficult, right? And I think that it is. So the mindset that I think most players have is that when they have time, they use the topspin dink. So when the ball is sitting up more, they go for the topspin dink. And when they have less time, they go for the slice dink. This isn't always true, but I think that's generally how it works. So here's how that looks in real time. So Drew's gonna give me some slower dinks. And here, I can come under it and use that topspin motion. The topspin is definitely the more aggressive of the two. That's not to say that you can't be aggressive with a slice dink, but because it has topspin on it, it dips down faster and it makes it harder for your opponents to respond, all right? If Drew's to start going harder at me though, that's where I use my slice dink to defend. So I don't have as much time, and I'm gonna use my slice dinks just so I can stay in that dinking rally. I don't pop the ball up. It's very hard to hit a topspin dink off of a good topspin dink. That's one thing to keep in mind. My next tip is about what is called the split step, okay? So if you come from tennis, you know that you're told to split step, which looks like this, before every single shot. And what that does is it puts you in a position to react in any direction. Well, in pickleball, we don't need to split step before every shot because the court's a lot smaller and we don't have to cover as much ground. But there are a few key instances where you want to split step. The first one being when you're moving in and reacting for a reset. So if I hit a drop and I'm coming in, I want to do that split step so that I can react in either direction. Because as I'm moving forward on that drop, it's my opponent's job to try to get the ball at the level of my feet out to my sides to try to get me off balance. So if I'm just running in and I'm standing straight up, it's going to be really hard for me to react, okay? So as I'm moving in, right before my opponent makes contact with the ball, I'm going to jump into this wide stance on my toes, about this much width between my feet, and that puts me in a position where I can react in either direction. And you want to pair that with having that lower ready position too, because you know they're going to go for your feet. So let's see how that looks in real time. So in this example, I'm going to hit my drop. And as I'm moving forward, he's going to aim for my feet. I'm going to split, which puts me in the right position to react. And I can keep moving forward, split again on that next shot. Now that I'm up dinking, I don't really need to split anymore. The next instance that you can split step is so important that I'm actually giving it its own tip, okay? So what I'm talking about is that when you're at the kitchen in pickleball, you might have heard that in pickleball, you should never back up, okay? But if you give your opponent a high, easy shot, and you're standing right here, you can consider yourself toast. In that situation, your best bet is to take a step back into a split step so that you give yourself that little bit of extra time and you can react. Let's see how that looks. So let's say I'm in a dinking rally. I give Drew a nice high ball on this next shot. Second I realize he has that high ball, I jump back into my split step, which gives me enough time to react, and I can get back to this position. And you can really do that on any time that your opponent has a high shot while you're at the kitchen. So the technique is, you see that the ball is going to be crushed at you, you immediately take one big step back and jump into that split step. Tip number 6 is that if you want to become the best possible player, you should probably find different ways that you can train on your own. Think about it this way. If every single time you went to the gym, you had to go with somebody else, it would just make things a lot harder to schedule your workouts. You probably would end up just working out less. So the best ways that you can train on your own are on the wall or the Dink Master, which I have here. You could also just do some sort of physical fitness drills for your footwork or flexibility. You could go out and hit serves. You could even just go on YouTube and watch videos of the pros playing and try to model your game after them. If you have a good wall though, or the Dink Master, it's probably the simplest way to get out a few minutes every day, work on your dinking accuracy, your reflex volleys, and all that good stuff. The moral of the story is though, find a way that you can train on your own without having to depend on other people, and that will help you progress a lot faster. Tip number 7 is that when you're hitting your third shot in pickleball, so the shot after the return, you want to do what you can with your feet so that you can move forward through the ball every single time. If you watch the pros play, you've probably seen some of them hitting their third shot on their back foot like this. But because they have insane feel, they can get away with that. If you're hitting your third shot on your back foot or just off balance in any way, it's going to make things a lot more difficult in terms of your accuracy. So when your opponent hits your return, it's your job to move around with your feet so that you can rock forward through the ball. So this might mean that you need to back up a little bit. If your opponent hits a really deep return, you might need to take a few steps back so you can go forward and hit the ball like that. See how that looks. So I'm gonna hit my serve. I'm ready for that next shot. Here it's short, so I can just move forward through the ball. Let's do it again. Here, hit a little short serve. Drew gets a nice deep return, I back up so I can move forward, third shot. The key is that when he goes deep, I take that quick step back so that I can move forward through the ball. A big mistake players make is after their serve, they start itching in like this. This is bad because if he hits it deep, it's gonna be really hard for me to get behind the ball in time to where I can move forward. Let's see one more example. There, the ball came right to me, so I can simply move forward through the ball. Tip number 8 is that you should experiment with putting weight on your paddle. This is usually in the form of lead tape, which are small strips that add a few grams, and you can position them in specific spots on your paddle. Almost every single pickleball pro does this, and there's a reason for it. What it does is when you put weight on the sides of your paddle, it increases the size of your sweet spot. I'm not a physicist, but there's a reason, a scientific reason for that, and every pro player knows this. Most high-level players do it too. Because of that, we actually designed our own lead tape at Enhanced Pickleball. What's cool about it is that it's pre-weighted strips that are 3 grams. This makes it really easy to position the lead on your paddle wherever you want. There are a few different layouts you could do. I personally like putting mine in the 4 corners, but a lot of the pros put the lead, just 2 strips right here in the throat of the paddle. So if you haven't tried this, there's a very good chance it'll make you get better immediately. So I highly recommend putting some lead tape on your paddle and seeing what you think. Tip number 9 is that when you're warming up, the most effective drills to do are drills that fire up your reflexes. Obviously when you're warming up, you should go through every single shot, but the most important thing to get going are your reflexes. So now I'm gonna go through my favorite drill to fire up my reflexes with a partner. All you're going to do is be behind the kitchen line and take one step inside, okay? So we're just inside the kitchen line, and we're gonna start volleying from here, okay? And we're gonna start off slow, and as we increase our comfort, we're gonna slowly speed up until one of us actually misses, okay? And what that does is it increases your threshold for how quickly you can react to a ball. And this can do wonders if you do it right before you play a game. Because when you play your game, you're gonna be standing behind the kitchen line and everything's gonna feel like it's in slow motion. If you don't have a partner though, totally okay. You can essentially do the exact same thing on the Dinkmaster by yourself. And guys, my last tip of the day is to watch this next video that goes over 7 techniques that all the pros use that you probably don't. One of my favorite videos that we've ever put on the channel, so make sure to go watch.